Clubs. Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with Taco Night on Mondays or Whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Tomorrow is about the lessons we learn today. A farmer's market teaches us that community is grown together. Kids laughing shows us how joy is easy. And coffee on the porch reminds us to savor every moment. These are the lessons that shape a tomorrow we all share. One filled with trust, good company, and wide open dreams. That's the way banking should be. And that's Pinnacle Bank. Member FDIC.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, and we are very excited to announce our spring sales event happening now at Coppell. We have 0% financing or up to $13,000 off select GMC and Chevrolet inventory. You heard that right, 0%. Or $13,000 off select inventory. We'd love to see you at the store or check us out online at coppellcars.com. Folks, this is really confident buying and confident driving. Stock number C127238 and G173977 with approved credit.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, I agree. And I'd like to help. I'm your Edward Jones financial advisor, Ryan Buck. Together, we can give you a long-term strategy, the attention it deserves. Contact me today at 402-483-0377. Again, that's 402-483-0377. Stop by our office at 8380 Old Cheney Road. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Jay Foreman, the host of Old School, 3 to 6 p.m. here at 93.7 The Ticket. And one of my favorite things to do is come down and meet all the fans before and after as they cheer on our beloved Huskers.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth. 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket sports news go now.
This is Nick Wyman with your sports update. The Final Four is set for the NCAA men's college basketball tournament. With UConn defeating Duke and Michigan picking up a win over Tennessee on Sunday, tip times at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis are official for this coming Saturday. On April 4th, UConn plays Illinois with that game set to begin at 5:09 Central Time, and Michigan-Arizona to follow around 7:49 p.m. Central Time. This past Saturday, Team Nebraska defeated Team Huskers by a score of 22-17 in the 2026 Nebraska football spring game at Memorial Stadium. Anthony Calandra guided 2 long scoring drives by completing 12 of his 19 passes for 80 yards, including scoring strikes to Ja'Cory Barney Jr. and Quinn Clark. Jamal Rule led all rushers in the game with 119 yards on 9 carries. Connor Booth scored the game-winning touchdown on a 32-yard run to propel Team Nebraska to a win. The Nebraska volleyball program will play a match at Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs, on Sunday, September 6th, as part of the Big Ten SEC Volleyball Challenge Week. Nebraska will take on Missouri, while Penn State will battle Kentucky at Wrigley Field. As part of the Big Ten SEC Challenge Week, all 18 Big Ten schools and all 16 SEC institutions will match up beginning Tuesday, September 1st, culminating with a historic outdoor doubleheader at Wrigley Field on Sunday, September 6th. And for all the latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You've got used to one segment of Good Takes in the morning, but now there's a full show of Good Takes at night. Welcome into Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket.
The must be Monday. Nick Wyman here, 94.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com, alongside Chris Raff. Raff's Good Take on Sports, right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or on Owl Channel 961, you can be a part of the conversation by chiming in on the Starter Heyman Jewelers text line, 402-464-5685. And Raff, it's been an eventful week. Baseball is up and going. Your Braves got 2 of 3 against the Royals. The Royals kind of imploded. As we talked about earlier today, we talked about the Royals kind of imploding in that game on Saturday night with Carlos Estevez. Hey, but the Royals won 2 straight. Ended the weekend on a high note. Got a win today in the home opener over the Minnesota Twins to get back to 500 on the early campaign. But there's a lot going on in Huskerland. Husker basketball obviously wrapped up their season. But football is in the air, and you had that going on as well. We had post-game coverage here. But first off, Raff, just how you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sorry. No surprise phone calls tonight.
I was going to ask.
Harrison was very upset with me. He's like, really, Raff? You had Kent Pavelka on when I wasn't on? And I was like, Harrison, here's the deal. He was getting ready to fly out. We had to get him before he made his way down to Houston. So I told him that I would make it up to him. So I'm going to see my friend's son signed with the Chicago Bears this offseason, Cam Lewis. So I'm going to try and get Cam on before it's said and done, or maybe have him call in and surprise Harrison some night. So that's my next goal that I'm going to try for. So we'll see if I can make that happen before football season starts. So hopefully that will mend the fences with Harrison. I know he's awfully upset with me. And then also, before we start talking about football, how about Nebraska volleyball and announcing that they're going to be playing a match at Wrigley Field in September? The only thing that I could think of when they announced that was incredible atmosphere, incredible scene. But then all I could think of was the good old days and Harry Carey going, and the wind is blowing out to left field. I mean, they don't call this the Windy City for nothing. What happens that day if there's like 35-mile-an-hour gusts of wind that day they play that match?
Well, that, and then weather in Chicago is a little unpredictable as well. It could rain that time of year, and it's interesting because they, like you said, they call it the Windy City. So, Jalen Reyes on his show the other day on Serve and Volley on Tuesdays was talking about the beach volleyball season and how some of these players adjust to playing beach volleyball because there's wind. He said like only a little bit, like a 5-mile-per-hour gust can really do a lot of make you have to adjust to your game because you're so used to playing indoors. I don't know what a 35-mile-per-hour gust would do or a 50-mile-per-hour gust. He says a 5-mile could change everything drastically, how you approach a ball, how you set a ball. 35 could be very interesting to say the least because, imagine putting a serve over the net and you're trying to, these college volleyball players are hitting a serve straight down at you and you add another, 40-mile-per-hour wind with it. How do you kind of, get ready to bump that ball? But, this is crazy. Nebraska volleyball, they're kind of like, I don't know, like, a traveling team essentially because you see in the spring they'll be playing a match in Chadron. They play the red-white game. They played in Central City a couple years ago. They're playing, they're going to be playing at CHI against Creighton in the spring as well. Usually they play that one at DJ School Arena, where they usually play their games right across the road from Morrison Stadium there on campus of Creighton. And now they're going to be playing in Wrigley for a match on September 6th, starting first match is scheduled to begin at 6 o'clock. It looks like followed by 8 p.m. So, and it'll be broadcast on Fox too. Nebraska did play in that season opener last year here at the AVCA opening where they played some teams as well at Pinnacle Bank, but this is a whole nother beast in itself. You're playing at historic Wrigley Field. I'm curious what it's going to look like because, we've seen football games played there and so on and so forth. But you have this kind of like a new chapter of having volleyball played outdoors. We obviously saw what Memorial Stadium was like a couple of years ago here. You've seen some high schools replicate that on their football fields as well, not only in Nebraska but elsewhere. And now you get Wrigley Field, which is there going to be a 7th inning stretch, like a 3rd inning stretch? I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's gonna be fun. I'm really excited to see what that is going to be like. That's right when college football is also going on as well, so that's awesome that it gets to be broadcast on Fox. You get you get to play SEC Challenge too. That's a new thing too, SEC Big Ten Challenge. So I think it's a really cool situation. Nebraska's not the only team that gets to play in this too. They have Penn State as well playing as well on that, and then same tournament as well.
I was laughing today. I was listening to Adam Carricker and Bach, and they put a wager on whether it's going to be a sellout or not, and whether it's going to be mostly Nebraska fans. And Adam took the sellout with mostly Nebraska fans. Bach, reluctantly took the under, not a sellout. And the bet is, I believe, that Bach will have to shave his beard and just wear a mustache for a couple of days. And I didn't have the heart then to text in and tell Bach he might as well just shave the beard now and get a mustache, because come the beginning of the year, Nebraska fans are so volleyball starved, and to play in Chicago at Wrigley Field, that it's a sellout. And I think Wrigley Field holds 42,000. I don't know what they'll do. Like, we don't know how they're going to set up the court, what they'll put for seating on the field and stuff like that. So I would think that the sellout is, I think that's a given right away. So I think Bach will probably be wearing a mustache here for a couple of days in September, which will be different, being that I think he said he's had his beard for 17 years or something like that. So it's definitely going to be a new look for Bach. So yeah, listeners, prepare yourself for Bach with a mustache.
Yeah, don't get jump scared. I mean, hey, facial hair grows back. I would assume it does for Bach, unless I don't know, but I think he should be fine. But yeah, I mean, there will be a sellout. Remember, this is the beginning of the season, so there's going to be, and you're playing quality team. You're playing Missouri. You're going to be playing an old, rival. And then you got to think, going up to Chicago, you get a chance to go watch a volleyball game in Wrigley Field. We saw what it was like at Memorial Stadium, where they had the volleyball day here in Lincoln, where Wayne State got to play UNK and whatnot. But just having the opportunity to go watch a volleyball game in Wrigley Field that time of year as well, to me, I believe that's the week after Labor Day weekend, I believe, too. So college football, we're already kind of week one will already kind of be behind us. And it's going to be on Sunday, too. So you can make the trip up there over the weekend and go enjoy Nebraska volleyball, because we saw, this is a team that reminds you, Nebraska volleyball had a really good season last year. No losses throughout the regular season, Big Ten regular season champs. And then obviously came up short against A&M here in Lincoln in trying to make it to the Final Four. But you have a team that's hungry, a team that's very recognizable, a lot of returning faces across the board. I know the transfer portal opens up again in May, but they had nobody transfer. And it's going to be a recognizable group, star-studded group, not just here in Lincoln in the state of Nebraska, but just the volleyball in general, being able to go play in these marquee matches and be able to draw. Like, a couple of years ago, they played in Central City, Nebraska, Central City, a smaller town in central Nebraska, and they sold out within minutes. People lining up in Chadron. They're playing Northern Colorado out there later this spring. That's going to be a sellout. I know it's in Chadron, but people are dying to go watch them play. And you have an opportunity to go play in front of, 40,000, maybe 50,000, depending on seating. I don't know what the arrangement's going to look like, but you get to go play at Wrigley Field, a historic venue, one that a lot of, sports fans like to check off their checklist if you'd like to go to, baseball stadiums or stadiums in general. You have a chance to go watch a volleyball game there, not just one, but there's two. So,
and that's on September 6th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, because Nebraska plays Ohio the day before, so I would assume Nebraska would be pressing probably to get an earlier kickoff for that game. I would assume it'd probably be an 11 o'clock kickoff. If I was a gambling man, I would think it'd probably be an 11 o'clock kickoff. So that would give time for Nebraska fans to watch that game, head to Chicago, make their way. Also, on the volleyball terms, I just have to say, not a fan of the NCAA marching out the Texas A&M volleyball team during the game on, what was that, Saturday? I forget was it Friday or Saturday? I forget.
Or Thursday, I believe, in Houston. It was during the Illinois and Illinois-Houston game, because I get it location wise, but it's just so random. Like, hey, we're in, this was months ago, and they honored them in Houston, which is not in, where they're from exactly, College Station, but it was just proximity maybe played a role, but it was just very odd to kind of like bring them out there. But hey,
I love Danny Buzz Boom Kelly's response. She's glad she was up getting a beverage when they announced the team. That was classic. But I look at the NCAA like that. It's like, you're going to pay homage to this team. Why not fly them to Indianapolis, and announce them? If they're going to make a tribute to a national championship, bring them out during the national championship game. But I just thought that was kind of funny that they would do it in Houston with Nebraska in Houston. But hey, what can you say? It's the NCAA. Nothing surprises me.
Well, and Nebraska played Iowa. We all thought that was kind of the end of the day for Nebraska and Iowa basketball. They're like, oh, we thought that senior day, Nebraska gets their win back against Iowa and move on to next year. Nope, they put them in the same region, and they end up somehow, some way meet each other in the Sweet 16. A lot of crossover there, especially Nebraska and Iowa, and then I
know there's been a lot of talk about this, and a lot of Nebraska fans have been like, Oh, I'm so upset we got beat by. But me personally, I would not have wanted it any other way. I mean, the only way that you're ever going to get Iowa fans and Iowa just to pipe down a little bit is you've got to beat them. It can't be always like, well, they got beat by Florida, so we didn't have to play. The only way is Nebraska has to beat. So I'm glad Nebraska had the opportunity to play Iowa and to get to the grade 8. They won. Congratulations. But I would take that matchup against Iowa. And if it would happen, chance to happen again next year, I would take it again next year, just for the fact that I want to play them. If they despise us as much as they do, I want to play them. I always want to play them.
Yeah, we'll get it in other sports down here in the end of the spring season as well. Softball doesn't play them softball plays them in April. So mark your calendar, Rav. April 24th, 25th, 26th over at Bowling. Nebraska softball's got Iowa Senior Day, one of those games too. So best 2-3 series in that one. So
get the brooms out.
The way they're playing baseball as well. Baseball's on a roll. Like I know winter just ended with wrestling, having Antrell Taylor and Christopher Minto in the finals. Nebraska basketball just wrapped up a historic season. Regardless of how it ended, the body of work. Like I remember I was here for post game with Harrison. Harrison wasn't happy. Like Harrison, we watched the end of the game together. And he wasn't, I don't think he said a word for the final 2.5 minutes of the game. And I stepped into don't punt hour for him, and he's like, I'm mad. And like a lot of people walking by were just like, throwing thumbs down and weren't, shaking their head, hands on head. And, I was here last Saturday when there was, jubilation. People are honking, the fireworks were going off in the back. I saw a complete 180 of that. And my biggest takeaway from this basketball season is people are mad or people are sad or however you felt about that Iowa game. You cared. I think that's the biggest thing you take away, because a lot of people weren't invested in Nebraska basketball as a whole, since day one. And I think the biggest thing is, hey, you had a remarkable season throughout. 30 plus games. People are along for the ride, whether that be from the first game of the season, from an exhibition game against BYU, from the win over Wisconsin, the win over Creighton, a win in the Pentagon against Oklahoma, whether it be in Kansas City, those wins over New Mexico or Kansas State. You were along for the ride, whether you hopped on or whether you were from there from the start, or even the years before where they won single digit games under Fred Hoiberg. The reason people were how you felt on Thursday is because you cared. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, because people are invested and people are already chiming in for next year with the roster. I love that people are already kind of like, all right, what's the depth? What's the rotation look like next year? There's been years where you don't hear about Nebraska basketball, the roster, until probably October. People are invested. I think that's my biggest takeaway, despite how the season ended.
Yeah, and belief is huge. I mean, one of the things about Nebraska, they talked about, they played Fred Hoiberg's post-game speech about how they've raised the bar for Nebraska basketball. That's what they've done. Now they believe now when they walk on the court against any team in the country, they believe they can win. And that is the biggest thing. That is one of the reasons for Nebraska football. What are they, like 0-30 against top 25 teams over the last so many years? It's like they've got to get one under their belt, because once I really believe when Nebraska finally does get one under their belt, when they believe that they can play with anybody, that's when the wins will start to stack up again. But it's just been that belief thing. It's always been, in their heads, and all the errors and the snafus and the stuff that has took place over like the last 10 or 15 years. And that's with Nebraska basketball. You've seen that page switch now to where, like, now they're looking at this. Beginning of the year, they come in rated 14th in the Big Ten, or preseason 14th in the Big Ten. And now people are like, okay, we're losing some key players, and we don't know who will completely lose, with the portal and all that good stuff. But you're looking at like, well, if we get a guy here and a guy there, there's no reason why this can't continue on. And the belief once again, the belief in Fred's system. So it's been exciting to see, and it's been exciting to see Nebraska. Just the power of Nebraska Husker Nation. Like, you see it with volleyball. I mean, that's been a given for the last, since Terry Pettit was here. But it's the Husker Nation is a sleeping giant. I feel like it's just something that it wants to unleash. Like, I know with like the spring game, people are talking about the attendance only being 28,000 or whatever it was. But it truly is. It's a sleeping giant. Nebraska fans are just waiting to unleash, with the passion and all the love that was given to Nebraska basketball this year. It is just waiting and pent up to be given to Nebraska football. But Nebraska football has got to earn that. And that's what's been different, I think, the last couple years than what it's been the last 20 years. Nebraska's just been, and I've always thought even over the last 20 years, there's been love for Nebraska football, but I've seen what true Nebraska passionate Husker fans are about. You got a taste of that with the Nebraska basketball season. So I think that there's a lot more with Nebraska football that they have never encountered or never seen what kind of passion Nebraska fans can bring when I guess when the product is deserving of that.
Well, like I was born in 98. Harrison was born around the same time. We never saw Nebraska football at its peak. I've seen the documentaries. I've seen the old school video, Tommy Frazier breaking 50 tackles. It feels like as he's running down the sideline, them dominating Peyton Manning. I've seen all the highlights in the videos across, YouTube. I've seen Tom Osborne go for 2 instead of, like we talked about a couple weeks ago on his birthday. I've seen all that, but the most I've probably seen Nebraska at their height was probably, for recollection, was probably Bo Pelini, and some people weren't even satisfied with that at the time, and that wasn't the expectation. I mean, my first season, I remember Zach Taylor playing A&M one year, but I wasn't like fully invested in Nebraska football or Nebraska athletics in general. I was like 6 years old at the time, so I was probably more invested into I don't know, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that. But then again, then I remember Bill Callahan, how that ended, and I saw Bo Pelini, and I haven't seen Nebraska football at its height really ever in my lifetime. I've seen all the videos, but I agree with that in a sense where there's just so much, say the sleeping giant. Fans will, if you're winning, fans are going to turn out regardless of the sport. I mean, we see it with wrestling, with Mark Manning's done with that program. We just saw Nebraska basketball. Has the product been amazing under Fred Hoiberg through his whole entire tenure? No, but look what happens when you put together a good product. Fans are going to come out. Nebraska women's basketball, we saw them with Jordan Hooper and Rachel Terrio and company a couple of years ago, and now they make the NCAA tournament this year. People support that. I go down the list. Track's having a pretty good year. Bowling's going to the regionals this Friday, Saturday. They've won 6 national titles since it became a sport in 2004. Husker baseball, they've won 17 of the last 18 games, I believe. Just beat Indiana, just swept them, and they're playing Creighton tomorrow. Nebraska softball plays Creighton as well. Look what they're doing and what they've put together with Rhonda Revelle and that staff. Have put a great product on the field around Jordy Fromm, who's obviously the star of the show, but you have such a good, product on the field that everybody wants to come out and watch, and them breaking attendance records back-to-back days, essentially playing UCLA, ending their winning streak. There's just so much else going on that I think football, that's kind of why I think the attendance was down. There's just so much else going on that it gets kind of put on the back burner, which if you tell me that 15 years ago, people would look at you like, nah, that there's no way that's possible. But there's so much else success going on in the athletic program that I think that football kind of took a back seat, and especially what spring games have come to be. I think taking a year off as well was a factor. I'm not just going to say, because they're not winning 8-9 games is the reason. I think spring football in general is down as well.
Well, Nebraska fans too, they'll always support. Look at Nebraska football. They've always supported. You look at Nebraska basketball, they've always supported, but when the teams go to a different level, the fans go to a different level. You're seeing it with Nebraska women's softball and the attendance records they're sitting. They've always had great crowds at Nebraska softball, like looking back over the last, 5 years. I bring up like Abby Squire just because we know her dad, John Squire, big Nebraska softball, and they had great crowds there. But now that they went to another level, now you're seeing the crowds go to another level. Nebraska basketball, they've always had good crowds at PBA. They had good crowds at Devaney, but now they go to a different level. Then the crowds go to a different level. We see Nebraska, 28,000 fans at a spring game. That's nothing to laugh at. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good sized crowd. I think when you match it across the country this year, I would guess Nebraska will still be in the top 25% of spring game crowds when it's all said and done. But we also know when it goes to a different level, what it can be. Like, I guarantee you, if Nebraska throws up 9 or 10 victories this next year, you probably can count on probably 60,000 being at next year's spring game. It's just that different level. When you take that level up in your performance, the crowd goes up to a different level. That's like with the football team. I continue to say, you've seen great support for Nebraska football over the last 20 years, but you've never seen it at that next level that it can go to. And I'm always excited for that to happen. I'm holding out before the end of my lifetime that I will see that again. Hopefully you'll get to see that, because it's a monster, and it's fun to see, and you're seeing it. You're going to see it with Nebraska baseball this year. You have seen it. As they continue to win, those crowds are going to continue going up. Those berms are going to be full out in left field. It's going to be ruckus. I mean, that's just what Nebraska fans do. And so right now, the goal for Nebraska football, get to that next level and then wake that sleeping giant of fandom.
Before we go to break, I wanted to talk about, obviously the attendance, it's 27,000, 28,000, one of those numbers in between. I also think having the spring game in March is also a factor in that. It's obviously a month earlier than people would recognize. The weather, it felt like, so I was here on Saturday. It felt like Nebraska was gearing up to play an 11 a.m. game against like Northwestern. The weather, it felt like it was windy. It was 50 degrees, which that is Big Ten West is still alive and well. It felt like, but I also think just having it a month earlier than usual. Obviously, last year they didn't have the spring game. Technically, it was the Husker games in 2025, so I think that also plays a factor. And I just think having it in end of March instead of after Easter, because Easter's sneaking up here. This Easter week now. You couldn't really have it then. You obviously had the basketball game on Thursday. Several fans are in Houston who probably would have gone. You had softball playing UCLA, a historic. Maybe a Big Ten conference championship, maybe two teams you could be buying to make a trip to the Women's College World Series. Mentioned Nebraska baseball in action. You have so much else going on that I think it did take it back burner just because of the time and the place for it. Because usually you're at the end of April and, there's a lot of baseball already played. The weather's nice. You get to a spring game atmosphere and, basketball's not obviously there. So I think that also played a factor is having the game before April comes into play.
I think it was huge this year. Nebraska basketball pulled a fast one on Nebraska football. I mean, usually Nebraska basketball is pretty much done and the season's over. Maybe they're going to play in the Crown, and the talk turns to football. Well, this year, during the entire spring practice, I mean, we very seldom brought up. We talked about it a few times, a couple press conferences here and there, but the talk of the state was Nebraska basketball, and that's. At the end of the day, that's where the focus of Nebraska was. And being that the season had just ended on Thursday, and then all of a sudden to make that switch from Nebraska basketball to football, that's a lot to ask. But like I said, still 28,000, 27,000. That's nothing to laugh at. That's still a great crowd for Nebraska football. But we all know that the talk of the state and everybody, the focus was on Nebraska basketball.
And that'll be a huge distraction. Elite Eight chance versus spring football. That's just, that's just how it is. So we're going to go break. When we come back, we'll continue. Raff's Good Take on Sports. Chris Raff, Nick Wyman holding down 1040 O Street in the capital city. We'll be right back after this break. 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate. At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
Good news, LES customers. Even though their lobby at 2620 Fairfield Street closes July 31st, they've still got plenty of convenient ways to support you. Find your best options at les.com.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes! Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for something beyond the ordinary haircut? At Scissors and Scotch Lincoln, they blend your old school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. Sink into a comfy chair, unwind with a complimentary drink, and let their master barbers handle the rest. It's not just grooming, it's an experience. Whether you're prepping for a big meeting, needing to get cleaned up before family comes to town, or just need a little time to yourself, Scissors and Scotch Lincoln delivers sharp style every time. Book now at Scissors and Scotch in Lincoln, just south of 30th and Yankee Hill Road.
Looking for something fun tonight? Axe throwing, local beer, and great vibes are waiting at Arbor Axe House. From casual nights out to celebrations and team events, it all starts here. Reserve a lane today at arbораxe.com. Arbor Axe House at the corner of N Street and Antelope Valley.
The wait is over. It's Truck Month at Anderson Ford, which means big selection and even bigger savings on Ford F-150s. Like lease a 2025 Ford F-150 for only $195 per month. The truck that's built to work hard and play hard. Another reason you'll experience better at Anderson Ford. Stock number 1008409. Previous service letter. $195 per month for 36 months, 7,500 miles per year, 8,500 with type. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 3/31/26.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to get your work done. You have 1,000,001 things to get done today, and waiting for the tech issue to solve itself isn't one of them. It's time to let Hamilton handle the tech so you don't have to. We help businesses across the state spend more time on what they do best and less time frustrated with office technology. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we're focused on providing custom solutions that set you up for success now and in the future. Connect with us today at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Back to Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket. With all the good takes you need, here is your host, Chris Raff.
Welcome back. Raff's Good Take on Sports, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Chris Raff is here alongside Nick Wyman, 1040 O Street, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Raff, just got done talking about Nebraska athletics as a whole. Very successful time of year with softball and baseball, what they're doing in the parking lot over there at Bowling Stadium and Hawksfield at Haymarket Park. Plenty of opportunities to still catch them playing. But the spring game, I mean, before we move any further, I guess we dove into kind of the attendance of the spring game. But what kind of caught your eye in the game? Obviously, there was a game to be played. It got done in about an hour and 45 minutes. We had post-game coverage right here on 93.7 The Ticket for that spring game. But I guess what kind of stood out to you were some things? Because obviously, there's a lot of new defensive coordinator, new running back, but, with who's going to take the Emmett Johnson's role, 3 quarterbacks. Everybody is, you can't mention one without the other. What kind of caught your eye during that game on Saturday at Memorial Stadium?
The first thing that caught my eye, and I don't know, maybe it's just a bugaboo in me being an old coach and stuff like that, is why there wasn't more attention directed towards special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like no kickoffs, no kickoff return. I don't understand that. I also don't understand on the field goals. Like it was great that the one kicker crushed the 49-yard field goal into the wind and the excitement there. But when I went back and watched it, the defense wasn't putting any pressure on or any type of, they were just standing up at the line of scrimmage. That bugs me. It's like here you have an opportunity to be, with the crowd in the stadium, and you have the opportunity to make it as real as possible, because there's no kicker, that people are rushing the kicker. It's like make it a real game when it comes to special teams. So that for me, I scratch my head every year when that happens. I'm just like, you have a chance to simulate with people in the crowd. And that, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe, they practiced it a bunch in practice, and I know one person responded back to me that, well, they don't want to get anybody injured and stuff like that. Well, you've got to practice that stuff. When you play football, there's always a chance somebody's going to get injured. That's just part of the game. But it's just like, I was like, why, when you're kicking the field goals, are you not putting any pressure, make it a real light game type situation, instead of knowing that once you snap the ball, that the defense is just going to stand up and not even rush the kicker.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Like, obviously, like when you're kicking a field goal, like I'm not a kicker, but you have a chance to knock down a field goal and with nobody rushing you is a lot different than versus, a guy coming off the edge trying to block that kick, or a guy trying to jump over the top trying to block the kick, because the lower trajectory of field goal, the more, a 49-yarder is not a gimme in college football. We know that across the board. Like NFL may be a little different with guys like Brandon Aubrey across the board, but in college, especially in Nebraska, where kicking has kind of been an interesting thing, to say the least, the last couple of years. You're talking about the Aussie kicker, Michael Zarkias. He had a chance. He made a 49-yarder in this game as well. John Hull made a 33-yarder and a 32-yarder as well in the first and the third quarter. But you have a chance to really simulate what that's like, because there's going to be chances where a field goal makes or breaks a drive, makes or breaks a game. There's going to be a kickoff return, because we know special teams is a part of the game. As we've grown to know here at Nebraska, it's been a kind of a low light last couple of years. Like, I wouldn't say last year really was, but we've seen, since the turn of the decade, we've seen Nebraska special teams, usually one mistake will cost you a game, a shanked punt or a missed field goal on a drive where you put up, 13 plus plays and you end up coming away with no points after driving down the field at 70 yards and missing a kick that's 35 yards or less. We've seen that time and time again. And I agree with you. You kind of have a chance to kind of simulate what it's like that in Memorial Stadium with fans and people coming off the edge trying to, lay down a block. But you also have a chance on a kickoff return, maybe push you in field position. I know, obviously, in a spring game, the tackling's a little lighter. Quarterbacks obviously running, you're not going to hit the quarterback. They did not have the green jerseys, though. I did find that interesting. That was a little different, but I totally agree with you. There's times where this is an opportunity for guys to solidify themselves, and you can take it what you want. It's a spring game and a little bit of difference, and it's a little different than what we've seen the last couple of years. I'm just curious how you not only fix a spring game, but how it goes going forward, because college football is changing. Like, I'm curious if maybe exhibition games come into play. I know Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, a couple of years ago said, hey, he wanted to do that in some shape or form. I'm curious if that actually does come to light in a couple of years, because I get it. It's like just watching a scrimmage, but you need to bring a little bit of juice into a spring game to just kind of rile it up and get something going.
Yeah, I am in complete agreement with Coach Prime to bring in some sort of exhibition into this, because I'll tell you what, I felt like watching the game on Saturday, which I sat through it and watched the entire thing. Go me. I feel like you're wasting a practice is what I feel like you're doing. Like that's considered by the NCAA spring practices. That's considered an official practice. And I feel like you're just sort of like, it's not really, we're sort of taking it. We're not hitting the quarterbacks. You're not really putting them in harm's way. Like I want to see, how do they under duress, how do they play? Are they able to break a tackle? Can you extend a play? And people are going to come back and get that. Well, wonder if they get hurt. Well, I get that, but like I said before, it's football. There's contact in football. So I come out of that scrimmage on Saturday. I'm just sort of like, oh, I guess we'll find out, the first, 3-4 games of the year, what Nebraska has. Yeah. If you're going to play a spring game, I say play a game. I look back, I know I'm the old crotchety old man that I look back at the 90s. They played it was a real game, and players, you talked like Terrell Farley, and you talked to some of those players, for Jay Foremans of the world. There were players that shined in the spring game that made a name for themselves going into the fall camp. And it's like, I watched this game on Saturday, and I don't know. There was the big buzz after the game was Jamal Rule. Like, he had those big runs, but it's like, I don't know what to think, because then Coach Rule's like, well, our run defense played well, but it was against, third and fourth strings where they broke the big runs at the end of the game. So is that credit to Jamal Rule, or is it credit because they were going? So it's like, I came out of that game, I was like, I really don't know. And it's like, if you're going, and that's why I go back to Coach Prime. It's like, let's have an exhibition. Let's bring in, a Kansas State, or I don't even know who the team you would, but make it a real official exhibition game, just so you can see that, and you can see how players react. It's like that game on Saturday. I was like, I guess, Calandre, he's mobile, but it's like,
we knew that.
I want to see, when a guy's got a hand on him, does he break away? Does he? But I don't know. But like I said, I'm from the point that 7 and 6 seasons aren't, that's not for me. I've came to that conclusion. That's not. And I know people are going to be like, well, it's better than where we were. I was like, well, I'm not happy with where we were, where we're at right now. I want greatness. And sooner or later, you've got to bring that physicality, and you've got to play, full speed football. And I'm fine if that's what they want to do without eyes watching or crowd watching. Just get rid of the spring game altogether and don't waste one practice. I just felt like they kind of wasted a practice Saturday, going half speed, not going full speed on field goals and extra points, no kickoffs, no kickoff returns, fair catching on punts. It's like, let them play. I want to see, is there a punt returner out there that we don't know about, but that's me from the old school, I guess. But I want to see that. And then some people are like, well, they're being vanilla because they don't want other teams to scout them. And I'm sitting there kind of rolling my eyes. I'm just like, football's football. Nebraska's not going to come out and a 6 wide or 7. It's football. They're going to run the ball. You're going to throw the ball. But it's like, at least, play full speed. At least you can gauge things a little bit better. But like I said, I'm old, broken down.
Yeah. So going forward, I have a meme pulled up here. This is you right now. Old man yells at clouds from The Simpsons. That's you right now. If you were watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, you were able to see that. Or Al Channel 961. GBR Captain Chess, is great to see you guys and hear from you guys. Yep, always. A GBR Captain is staple to the weeknights. Listeners, he says, I was wondering if TJ Lateef was getting snaps from the first string center, because he was getting a lot of bad snaps and Calandria was not. Yeah, I mean, a lot of reps. Obviously, he's not getting reps with the first team. He's getting kind of thrown in there as well. He said he 100% agrees with Raff. He said he didn't like the punts being caught at the 5-yard line and fair caught all the time. Yeah, I mean, because you a game breaker, you need somebody like Nebraska hasn't had somebody like that in the punt returning since the guy who follows you on the show here with DeMornay Pearsonell, I would say. They need somebody to be able to do that, and you can't really simulate that. And like you said, like Nebraska had 374 rushing yards combined between both teams, Team Nebraska and Team Huskers. Jamal Rule having over 100 yards, had a big 75-yard carry. You can look at it both ways. Like, okay, you had 375 yards, man, maybe the running back position's good. Or you could go to the flip side and say, oh, maybe the run defense isn't great, or it's all chalk and we don't know. Because at the end of the game, you get, I like the end of the game where it was close and you're calling timeouts down the stretch. And then Connor Booth, local guy from Bishop Newman High School out in Wahoo, gets a 32-yard carry to win the game. Like, that's nice. But I don't know for sure, like, is the run defense good? Is it improved? The O-line play, I don't really know, because that was kind of one of my things. Like, okay, but you can't really simulate that if it's a, kind of just slow motion, we're going to block for however long we're going to, and then let Calandria kind of run out. And then you mentioned the Calandria, like, yes, he is going to run away, but while he's running away, it's like guys aren't going after him, really. They're two-hand touching him. So I don't really know, is in Big Ten play, can you get away with that? I don't know. Like, there's still a lot of questions. Like, obviously, Jamal Rule, like, good for him. Like, hey, that's a good one. I give Quinn Clark as well. He had one catch, the one-handed catch for a touchdown. That's an opportunity right there for a guy. I think that's what you take from it. Raff, to feed off the scrimmages, like the exhibition games. A DP was talking earlier today. I listened to it. I got a clip of it on our social media. He was saying, like, get like a team, like, it doesn't have to be a power school. Get like a team like Tulsa, team within driving distance, a team that's or something like that, and get them in here and they get a chance to play maybe on BTN, get, further recruits to potentially get a spring game. I mean, you don't have to trot out your starters. Maybe you invite a team like Tulsa down and they can come down Monday and you do split squad practices like they do in the preseason for the NFL. And you have a full week of just scrimmage each other. It doesn't have to be starters. It could be, and then play your starters as long as you want on that Saturday, maybe a drive, and then have, guys competing to make the team or guys competing for third string reps to potentially get in. You have that, and you have guys from Tulsa coming down to come watch a game at Memorial Stadium. Like, there's an opportunity there. I'm just curious how that all kind of comes into play and what the future holds for spring games in general.
Yeah, well, it's about repping things full speed. That's where I just want, like I said, if they want to do it under closed practices and not have a spring game, I'm good with that. I just feel like you waste the spring game practice. It's like, what is taking place here? I guess, there was some good, but you're not hitting the quarterbacks. You're not special teams. Like he mentioned about catching the balls on the inside the 5-yard line. Well, like, I know they were just catching the ball and fair catching it. I get that, but I want to simulate a real game as much as possible. So we don't have that the first game of the year where a guy fair catches the ball on the 4-yard line, or go rewind. What was it, 5 or 6 years ago, where Cam Taylor-Britt, tried to catch it and then ended up getting tackled at like the 2-yard line. And
yes,
I think it was Northwestern game. It was a complete fiasco. It was like, they had the opportunity Saturday. And maybe they've repped it. I hope, in practices, but you have the opportunity with the crowd in the stands and people and all eyes on them to return punts, return kickoffs, and I always scratch my head. And then being, seeing the special teams over the last, 10 years, take away maybe 2 years, maybe last year and maybe 3 years ago when Trey Palmer was around. But other than that, Nebraska special teams has been a complete dumpster fire. It's like you have the opportunity to full speed it, kickoff coverage and all, kickoff return. It's like that was an opportunity, and why they went take it. And I know I'm going to get the feedback, well, we don't want to get anybody injured. Well, I get that, but it's like, it's football. Every time you walk out between the lines, there's a chance you could be injured. So that's my thing is practice full speed. If you're going to have a scrimmage, do everything in the scrimmage. That's why I think bringing in a team like Tulsa or bringing in a team like that, where it's like, okay, it's full on full. And then you can find out, because I feel like some players, they practice fine, but when the lights turn on, they're a different type of player. And it's like, I would have liked to seen, are there any gems out there that maybe not as good a practice, but when the lights turn on from the young players that maybe we missed out on just because we didn't get a chance to see, like a young punt returner or a young kick returner, or maybe somebody come off the edge and block a field goal, that could be a weapon in the regular season.
Yeah. I mean, we got to go to break here, but I think Chris, old man yells at clouds, Raff is going to be a new nickname going forward from our listeners. I just had to pull it up because that was the first thing I thought of when you mentioned yelling at clouds. Simpsons, we had to
win. I just want to win.
I don't blame you. So we're going to be back. We'll come back with Raff's good take of the day. On the other side, 93.7 theticketfm.com. We'll be right back after this break.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
Fans, are you craving the ultimate game day experience? Red Zone Sports Bar and Grill has your front row seat to all the action. Dive into delicious wings, juicy burgers, and ice-cold drinks, all served up with TVs covering every inch of the wall, so you'll never miss a play. Rally your crew, cheer on your team, and take advantage of game night specials every week. Stop in for a Nebraska basketball game with a party of 4 or more and receive a free pitcher of beer. Red Zone Sports Bar and Grill, right by the Lincoln Airport at 3111 Northwest 12th Street.
If you become ill or injured at work and need an experienced attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court, protect your rights and freedom to get you the best possible results for your case and the justice you deserve. Trust your rights and freedom to Liberty Law Group. Attorneys serving Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to Oak Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at Oak Street Carpet.
Oak Street Carpet.
1732 Oak Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, I agree. And I'd like to help. I'm your Edward Jones financial advisor, Ryan Buck. Together, we can give you long-term strategy, the attention it deserves. Contact me today at 402-483-0377. Again, that's 402-483-0377. Stop by our office at 8380 Old Cheney Road. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Schwezo Construction, safety isn't just a policy, it's a promise. Build with us. Work safe, go home proud. We're hiring skilled craftsmen, laborers, concrete workers, and steel erectors who value quality work and a team that has your back, on and off the job site. If you're ready to be part of a company where your safety and success come first, visit Schwezo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com and apply today. Schwezo Construction, 40 years strong and still building the future.
Spring is the time of new beginnings and trying new things. If you haven't tried Führer's cheese spread yet, the time is now. For parties for St. Patrick's Day and Easter or celebrating the NCAA tournament with friends, there's no better dip to bring everyone together and celebrate something from Nebraska. Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Führer's cheese spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table. At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
Staying healthy and comfortable starts with the air you breathe. If you're noticing more dust, odors, or allergies, it could be time for duct cleaning from Bryant. Pure Air starts with cleaner air ducts. Pair with enhanced filtration and purifications options, and the difference is amazing. When the air you breathe is clean and fresh, your home smells fresher and your family is healthier. Time for cleaner air in your home? Call Bryant for a free estimate. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Back to Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket. With all the good takes you need, here is your host, Chris Raff.
Welcome back. Raff's Good Take on Sports, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Nick Wyman hanging out with Chris Raff on a Monday, so no surprise guest this week. Maybe next week. We'll see. That's why you tune in to Chris Raff, because you never know what he's got up his sleeve. You're like a magician, essentially, in some way. Hey, I didn't know you had that kind of pull to get Ken Pavelka on. Still in shock that happened a week ago, and I still can't believe it happened. All-time moment, I would say. All-time moment, but I will never doubt the great Chris Raff ever again. So, Raff, we only got a couple more minutes. We got a little bit more notes about Nebraska. I know you want to talk about the NFL, but as we know, I've come to learn the show notes usually don't come to par, because we could probably get you talking for 2 hours if we really wanted to, maybe 3. I mean, you're a pro at this. Pretty good talker. So, I mean, hey, that's a good problem to have.
I try. A few years experience doing this. So
just a few.
You know, I always tell everybody, I'm like, I maybe could compete with you sports knowledge when I was in junior high. Now I could not compete with you. But when I was in junior high, I would give you a run for your money.
I heard this last week. I think it was Thursday. You were saying like we could have a competition because you guys were trying to. I can't remember what you guys were talking about. But there's something that you guys brought up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you guys can remember Clay Matthews?" I was like, "Really? The guy with the long hair, Clay, Packers linebacker with long hair? I mean, AJ Hawk had some long hair back in the heyday, but I was like, how do you forget Clay Matthews? Clay Matthews of all people."
I know, horrible.
But I don't know. It's a weird, I guess, blessing to have where you like know where this guy went to college and you can remember that off the top of your head. Like, I don't know. I guess this is just what happens when you're growing up and you play Madden and you scroll through the depth charts and you look at the info on each player. I don't know. It's a weird hat to have.
But when you say Clay Matthews, you're thinking Green Bay Clay Matthews. I'm thinking Cleveland Browns Clay Matthews.
That is true. There's an age difference here. And I also remember Clay Matthews toward the end of his time too. He was on some other team at one point too. I remember too.
He left the Packers. Yep.
So I associate with the Packers. I remember seeing him dominate at the linebacker position for that team. And, and when you mentioned that the other night, it was like, who's that guy with the long hair for the Packers? Like, I don't really remember anybody else really with long hair. Like, I remember like, when you mentioned defense, I'm like, yeah, it's gotta be Clay Matthews them. And then I remember like guys like BJ Raji, who was on that defensive front. He didn't have long hair by any means, but he was just a random defensive player for the Packers that came to mind. But no, it's a blessing to have when you have that kind of, random knowledge, just random names pop in your head. Like, hey, I remember that dude rocked. That's kind of what it comes down to when you remember all that stuff. But Raff, we only have a couple more minutes. What's your good take for Monday, March 30th, 2026? As we're at the end of March, it went by quick.
Yes, it did. All right, everybody. Today's Raff's good take goes out to Tristan Adams and Jess Timmerman. Tristan came on Jess's podcast, Sparking the Torch, earlier. I think it was last week, and she did an amazing tribute to her father, John Fink. They talked about veterans and PTSD and everything that John and his life. And it was an amazing, touching tribute to an amazing Husker fan, amazing dad, amazing person. If you get the chance, I'll post the link. Tristan is big into Mission 22. I can't even think of the words, just how powerful it was and how honest and just how it just touched my heart to hear Tristan talk about John the way that she did. So Jess, thank you so much for having Tristan on your podcast, Sparking the Torch. You guys are both Raff's good take, just two amazing individuals. So yes, that's it.
Where can you find that podcast? Obviously, you said you're going to post the link, but you can tell our viewers where you can find that.
You can find it on Apple, and okay. I'll post the link to it. But it was just one of those. I think it's like 35 minutes long, and I am not a podcast sit down guy. And I started listening to it and listened to the entire 35 minutes, and it's super powerful. Tristan, everything she's done for Mission 22, they've done races for John, golf tournaments for John. She takes all the money, she donates it to Mission 22. Just amazing family. So I wanted to make light of that. And, big thanks to Jess for having Tristan on her podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I might have to check it out. It sounds like, only a half an hour, it goes by quick. If you're doing the dishes or something, or you're doing laundry, you can listen to it and it go by. And it sounds like it's worth the listen. So, well, that's all the time we have. Went by quick when you're having fun, Raff. Obviously, a little bit of a yelling at clouds moment, but Nebraska football spring happened, and that's just what happens. But, hey, Husker Nation, there's a lot of other sports going on. Bowling's in the regionals. Baseball and softball continue to stack wins. So we'll talk about it more as the week goes on. Raff's good take on sports. Coming up next, Don't Punt Hour, DeMornay personnel. I'll be here with DeMornay as well. Raff will let you go. We'll be right back here, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.